Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the Hormonal Mama podcast. Today on the show, I have Gladys Simen, life coach and owner of My Life Couch. We are talking today about everything from discovering your innate superpowers to why it is just absolutely essential to recharge and sometimes put yourself first. We are also talking about why it's okay to be a non-perfect mom while still being a good one. This is an excellent episode with an excellent life coach you won't want to miss, so stick around and I'll see you in just a moment. Hi Gladys, welcome to the show. I cannot wait to get this conversation going because you know as well as I do, we have so much to talk about. So Gladys, welcome. I'm so happy to have you.
Thank you so much. Oh yeah, likewise. Thank you so much for having me on your show and looking forward to more laugh because we've been laughing for a little while now.
Oh yeah. Before we pressed record, there was a lot of laughter going on. It's our blooper reel, right?
It's a blooper reel. I'm your accountability partner on that. So for those that just joined, it's still the Hormonal Mama show. I'm just pulling her leg and say she needs to do a blooper reel.
I love
she's hilarious behind the scenes.
I love it.
Okay.
You're the best. Gladys, you are awesome. And this is why I've been looking forward to this conversation because as you know, the last time we talked for a long time and we had so much fun. We talked about so much stuff. And I know today we have, some more specific things that we're going to talk about. But before we jump into, some of these things, do me a favor, tell our audience a little bit about you and a little bit about the work that you do as a life coach.
Okay, I was going to say, thank you. You specify I was going to give you my weight, my age, and all those things.
All of the details. I'm writing them down right now.
Hello, everybody. I'm Gladys Simen. I am usually wearing multiple hats, playing multiple roles in my life, but the three that I'm constantly wearing every day with joy is the mom. So I'm a mom to a fabulous duo. And I'm a consultant for a Fortune 500 company. That's my day-to-day life. And I'm also a life coach, like Kara said. So where I'm helping specifically working mom. So it doesn't matter if you are a brand new mom, a mom to be, or a wiser mom. I like that rather than experienced mom. I usually welcome all of you on my couch. And if you think about the intersection with my triad, the mom, the consultant, and the coach, it's always meeting people at their point of need, tweak them, and let them go their merry way. So that's I feel what I'm destined to do. So I'm expressing this purpose in different roles that I play in my life. So that's it. I live in Toronto, Canada, where it's currently winter time, and it's a fabulous place to live. And all Canadians are nice, right? So
that's right. Hey, I've been to Canada a few times. I've been to Toronto. I mean, it's been 25 years or more since I've been there. But gosh, I remember loving it when I was a kid. So it's really cool to hear that, you love it too. Because, what's better than loving where you live? I think it's one of the most important.
Truly representing Canada here.
Yeah, Canada! I was going to sing a song, but I don't know the Canadian national anthem. Although, I'll tell you a little side note. If you ask my dad, he'll sing you the Canadian national anthem, and he'll sing it with soul. And he's not a singer. He's not bad, but he's not a singer. He loves the Canada national anthem. He loves it. He always has. My dad's a huge hockey fan, and he's particularly a New York Rangers fan. And when any Canadian team plays and there's the national anthem, I think my dad would be happy to just let the game end and keep singing. So, Toronto, Canada, awesome place to live. You do amazing stuff. You're a coach, you're a consultant, and you're a mom. I can relate to the coach and mom part because that's a crazy life right there. But I think that's really incredible that you do all of these things. And, I think, how can I word my thought process here? I don't know. I'm talking in circles. because I'm so excited. I think it's
I was
really
gonna
great. Oh,
I
sorry.
was gonna say those roles are not necessarily chosen willingly.
Right. Well, I understand
but
that too.
but
But
I wear those hats gracefully and with joy every day. I hear your point.
I love it. That's so awesome. That's so awesome. So let's talk a little bit about your work as a coach. There's something that I think is super important that I want to talk to you about, and that is our relationship with ourselves, right? We all have this struggle. I think even people with the best laid plans have that same struggle, right? It's very, very difficult to make it a point to take care of yourself. So tell me from your perspective, why is it so easy there's sort of a two-part question here. First part, why is it so easy to neglect our relationship with ourselves? And then the other part of that is, how do we start putting ourselves first? Like, how do we do that? How do we do these two things? Tell me.
So I usually share my own experience and also take advantage of the stories that I hear from my coaching client and my entourage. So I'm saying a disclaimer there because by all means I'm not a scientific or expert or I have a badge to say anything that works. But those are my real experience that work for me. So the reason I believe we find it hard to put ourselves first is almost the narrative we grew up with, where the society kind of push a little bit insidiously that you know being taking care of ourselves, putting ourselves first is selfish. You usually have to make sure, especially as a mom. I think I started realizing this more when I became a mom. I had to feed my kids. I have to make sure they okay, and only when they sleep, and only when they quiet, then I will think of myself. I usually too tired to care, so I'm like sleeping when the enemy sleeps.
Right.
But it's just if you think about it when you were younger, growing up in that society, it's always about being selfless, and selfless start to equate for some people to putting everybody else need first, because hey, we can rest when everybody else is taken care of. So the first step for me is to be aware of our little pattern on how we self-sacrificing, how we putting everything else first. And then once we start being aware, really be consciously, intentionally, and fanatically putting ourselves first. And when I say putting ourselves first, it's not necessarily neglecting everybody, but in my particular case, I have little space every single day where I call it my recharge time, right? So I compare us women to a very expensive mobile phone. Like think of a mobile phone that money can buy. Money is no object. So you go and buy it, and he does beautiful things. Like he goes and you check on it and say, "Mom, where is my striped red socks?" And you say, "Third drawer on the top shelf." Like all those crazy information that but like every single mobile phone, expensive mobile phone or not, they have a battery life. And then they will come and tell you, I'm 20% charged, I'm 10% charged. And if you do not recharge the battery, it dies.
Right.
So it becomes a very expensive paperweight. That's what it is. So if you do not take the time to charge your battery, you cannot go and eliminate the other roles that you are playing. You cannot be the mom, you cannot be the employee, the sister, the friend, the spouse, because the battery is not charged. Right. So I look at it as, let's change the narrative that no longer serve us, where we have to be selfless, equal, putting everybody's need around us, and change it to say, if my battery is not charged, it doesn't have to be 100% charged, but it has to be decent charge, so you can go and impact and effect change on other area of your life. So that's what is important for me to say, that the narrative we've been fed, I have been fed that narrative, that it was very selfish to think of yourself first. And I'm thinking it's imperative to put some spaces in your day to recharge your battery. It's not selfish, it's important
It's
because
necessary.
if your battery is not it's like fully charged or charged, you become a very expensive paperweight.
I love that analogy so much, and I had to write it down. I'm sure you saw me shaking a little bit. I absolutely love that you said very expensive paperweight, because that's exactly what happens with a phone. How are you any different? We need to charge, just as a side note, because we're talking about this recharging thing. I was trying to teach my daughter, who she loves her sleep, right? Which is awesome because my son hates to sleep. But now they're 2.5, so they didn't understand what I was saying, but I was trying to explain to her. She was so excited. She was just like, wouldn't calm down. She was like, ah. And I told her, I said, we have to charge. We have to recharge our batteries, or else we can't really do much. Now, of course, again, she's 2.5. And I realized as I'm explaining this to her, she's probably like, huh, what are you even talking about, mom? But it's just such a great point that if you're not recharging your batteries and taking care of yourself, and you know, just doing this important stuff to be a human being, how can you possibly take care of everybody else? And we know what that's like as a mom, as a business owner, as an employee. Your job, especially as a consultant, you end up being that person who's just taking care of everybody else. And it's so easy to forget to take care of yourself. But something that I've discovered is it's actually easier to make that time, like you talked about. What did you say, recharge time, where
Yeah.
you just do it, and it actually is easier because you feel better in the long
I was gonna say that when your mobile phone is dead, you put it somewhere. Even if the charging station is not near you, you just say, I'm gonna go without it for 10 minutes, 20 minutes. So you recharge because you know how much more useful that mobile phone is when there's some charge in it. And you are the common denominator in all the roles that you play in your life. So is it not much more important to have at least a functioning battery to
run.
do those roles?
Oh, exactly. Oh, you're saying it so beautifully, and it's just so accurate. And it actually brings me
Mhm.
to another question that I think ties in. I feel like the question is, how do we find our unique superpowers, right? Because we all have them. That's just something that's not important, but is a fact, right? But
Yes.
I feel like you can't discover those things about yourself if you're not
Ta-da.
taking care of yourself, right? So tell me, how do we do this? How do we do this for ourselves? How do we find our superpower? And then once we find that, how do we rediscover our power and joy, right? Because those are two different things that can go together. So tell me a little
Okay.
bit about that, if you wouldn't
So again, I think at the cornerstone of everything, my mantra is to know yourself. Know
mind.
yourself very well. Right? If you
Absolutely.
don't know yourself, you open the door for everybody else to tell you who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And it might not be true versions of yourself, but you have to know yourself. It's not about bragging, it's about saying, this is what I do uniquely well. And be confident and accept and embrace it. So how do we discover our superpower? Like you said, Kara, we all born with superpower. I think they, I divided into two category. I call them, the dominant and the dormant superpower. So dominant are dominant because they're influenced by a different factor, maybe the environment you are in, maybe different things that happen to you in your life. So I lived in 5 different countries. So I think for the longest time,
Amazing.
I was resilient. I was adaptable. I was, resourceful. Those are the things that came to me because of the lifestyle I was living. But I was a super quiet introvert. I was not.
Mm-hmm.
I was terribly shy. I wouldn't say anything. I wanted to be the model, um, you know, employee, like
Mm-hmm.
someone that doesn't ruffle feathers, that stay quiet, and then blend.
Right.
Right? That was what I wanted. But I was smart, resourceful, adaptable, and and I had stories to tell. Then I became a mom, And then he brought up to the surface other powers that were also my dormant superpowers. I realized that when you have kids, you become the de facto role model for them. Like
Mhm.
nobody asks you your opinion. Everybody's they look up to you, and their notion, the idea of life is determined by your action and how you live life. So that I took very seriously,
Mhm.
because my kid gave me a purpose higher than I ever had. So for the first time in my life, I was thinking, I need to make a better story for those guys to look up to,
Mhm.
because I'm creating hope. I'm creating a narrative for them to say, well, I can do what I want, or at least I can try. So it became very apparent to me that I wanted to be part of a solution rather than be part of a problem, just because I wanted my kid to look back and say, I can try it, even if I don't win
Right.
or succeed, I have to try. So I had to, the superpower that came was advocacy. So I was struggling so much in my own, journey to motherhood. I'd moved to a new country. I had no family, first time
Mhm.
parents. Oh my God, like no grandparents. It was a terrible
That's
mess.
tough. Wow.
I love being a mom, full disclosure. But for all the parents that are listening to us, those days that I'm talking, that it's just hard, and I had um, no no coping system. No, I just had my husband and myself, and you get pretty tired of passing the baby like a hot potato.
Yes, you
Um,
do.
but it made me very aware that I was frustrated. I went back to work and all those stories, and then I started thinking, the lie I was feeding myself at the time is surely I was the only one going through this, right? So it was a terrible lie, but it was what I thought and I believed. And then, one day I hit the wall and I said, I'm gonna say, I just wanted to express myself and say something. And I started writing posts on LinkedIn about working mom and say, well, I wanted to change, or at least bring a little bit of a difference to those working mom journey, like into, hey, saying, guys, as you're going into this, those are the pitfalls.
Right,
Kind of stuff.
right.
And I realized it resonated with a lot of people. So I started talking, not necessarily for me, but talking for other mom, adding my voice to that big conversation as a working mom. Because when you're a working mom in a corporate world, you have different problem than a
Mhm.
working mom that is an entrepreneur, and a working mom that, it's just, there's so many flavors, but at the end of it, you're a mom.
Right.
And I wanted, and it's still my dream to have a community of moms that help each other through those tough times. Um, and that give each other advice, mentor, support, career, whatever we want to talk, but we share our mom's experience in dash insert whatever, in business, in
Right.
entrepreneurial, in corporate. So that's still the dream. And I felt that if I didn't become a mom, I wouldn't have faced those unique challenge. And then I wouldn't have been, empowered to talk and advocate for others. So I'm still an introvert. I'm still less quiet. But
I love it. It's
so
great.
to your point, how do we find your joy, your superpower? I would say, know yourself.
Mhm.
And then once you start knowing your pattern, you have those superpowers already that you use every day. And those superpowers, I call them superpower to make them pretty, but they are so present in us that you don't even think they're there. You
Mhm.
may be the person that never shy to talk in public and share your opinion. That's a superpower. You may be the person that knows how to put, through great party because everybody get along and you put those people together. You're the networker. Like, those kind of skills that comes so natural to people that they're like, oh, that's not even a superpower. This is what I do. You know, that's what I call superpower, right? We all have those. And then once you know yourself and you know what you bring to any table, then you start observing other things that comes from it. So how do you find your joy? You align the superpower to whatever goal you want to achieve at this point in life.
I love that. I use that phrase so much. I love that. But I do. I mean, I think just the way you just said that, aligning it with your goals, because I mean, let's face it, you can't get through life if you don't have goals for yourself. I mean,
Yep.
that's something that it took me a very long time to realize. And I think you have such a beautiful way of looking at that and realizing that, like you said, we're all born with these superpowers. You know what I mean? We all
Oh.
have them. It's a matter of discovering what your unique superpower is. And
Like I told to one of my coaching clients yesterday, you're not that special. We all have superpowers. So
sorry to
I was
tell
say,
you.
I was gonna say I'm a real no nonsense talks
I like it.
coach. So I just wanted to say that we all have something we uniquely do well. Um, I I invite everybody listening to us today to 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 take stock of that. Take a piece of paper and write all the things that people think of when they talk about you. If it's,
Mm.
I have a girlfriend. If you want to organize a group holiday, she's the person to call to. She's get everything organized, booked, everything. Like she's the project manager. So that's her superpower, right? Um,
Mhm.
and then there's one of those things. So write it down, write the three top things that you have and see what goals you have today. And it doesn't have to be life goal, it could be a short-term goal, it could be a mid-term goal, but those superpower get you closer to that goal. You just have to realize that and click that this
Yes.
is what's going to get you closer to it.
And it makes so much sense when you break it down that way. And I really like that you said, you're not that special, because I think that that's something. I think maybe that's the part where people sometimes don't realize that they have this superpower, because they're like, well, no, I don't have that. I'm not special like that person. That's kind of the flip side of it. And it's I just think it's important to look at it the way you just said it.
Yeah.
It doesn't make you special, it makes you human,
It makes you, yeah. And I was
right?
gonna say, I'm still an introvert. I'm less quiet, but it didn't change me into like I don't have a cape or I don't
Right.
fly, all
I
those
wish I
things.
did.
But I, my
I'll go get one.
superpower, it should be one of your questions. What superpower would you want to have that you don't have?
Mm. Ooh. Mhm. Mhm.
Mine
I
will
like
be
that.
mine will be to be invisible, so my kid can let me sleep for like
I
3 hours.
love it. Oh my gosh, it's great. I mean,
But
pretty great
But
superpower.
we were talking about those powers, and if you take stock of your inventory right now, I'm sure you can find at least three
Oh,
of those superpower. Your listeners, yourself, Kara, I'm sure you can find
I'm
those.
gonna do it as
And
soon
then,
as we're done on this call.
oh, please do.
I'm going to, because I think it's one thing to feel like you know what you're good at, but it's
Mhm.
another thing to really dig deeper than that, like you're
Yes.
talking about, and see it as a superpower, because that's what it is.
Yep. And it is. And I was gonna say one of the other narrative I was, fed was like, you have to be humble about it. If you're good at, cooking, like you say, I'm cooking a mean risotto. You can't say that because it's bragging.
Right.
And I'm like, why? You cook
Mhm.
a mean risotto, own it. So own your
Right.
superpower. If you're good at something, own it because that's your brand. This is your magic sauce. Nobody does this as well as you do. It's time we change that and say, oh yeah, we can't claim it. Claim it. Say
Claim it
yes.
for sure. Oh my gosh. I think it's so important that you just said that, because I think that you are so onto something. Own it.
Yeah,
You're good at something. Don't shy away from shouting it from the rooftops. Gosh.
100%.
Oh, I love it. I'm so excited. I think that's just such an important topic that we're diving into here. And I mean, how can you not be proud of whatever this, superpower, whatever it is that you're good at. Oh, I'm so excited that we're
I was
having this
gonna say,
conversation.
for my part, I have two kids, like a 4 and a 7-year old, and they are teaching me every day.
Yep. They never
You
stop.
ask, you ask my 4-year old, no, my 7-year old, how is he feeling? He said, I'm perfect. How are you? I'm perfect. And he says that, and he's convinced he's really perfect, right? This is his thing. He doesn't worry. He's my, guy that is laid back. And he's like, I'm really good at doing things with you. I'm like, yes, you are.
I love
Uh,
it. Oh my goodness.
so it's just that, and they are way more confident than I ever was.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly not at their age, or maybe I wasn't. I forget, because one of the things I realized when you become a mom is we disconnect so much from our inner child as we grow up, because society say we have to be the model and follow that template. And when you observe kids when they're not yet conditioned, they just have those powers that they really claim it.
Mm-hmm.
My 4-year-old say, "Well, I'm really good. I'm the best dancer in the world," and
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, "Cool."
All right. That's
you
so
know,
fun. I
no
love
matter,
it.
it's her believing it. It doesn't matter if it's true. It
Right.
is her believing it, right? And I say that approach. I take that approach, and I said, own your superpower. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter if someone does it. Like, we don't grade things there. We don't say you 9 out of 10. This person is 10 out of 10, and you are
Right.
6. Own your superpower.
Heck
Say
yeah,
I can
man.
do it.
Yes. And that's another thing. Own it. Do you hear that, everybody? Own it.
Own it.
Own your superpower. Or
Yeah,
Gladys is gonna come after you.
I am. I am.
It's a fact.
That's
Let's
my
just be honest.
superpower. I can come after people that don't own things.
Yes. That makes me so happy. We're talking here about dropping pens and making loud noises, but we're over here talking about, being a mom and, all these things that come along with it, right? You
Mhm.
discover your superpower, but there's this other thing where everybody has it in their mind as a mom. And I know because I go through this myself. I have to be perfect. I have to do it perfect. I have to do everything perfect. And like logically, right. I mean, you're making that face and you're so right, because logically you're like, well, what is perfect? Perfect is not a
I
thing.
know.
Like, are you kidding me? And I just tell me why. I why being well, I guess, let me flip it around a little bit and reword it. Why is that not good? Like, you don't really want to be perfect. So why is it okay to not be perfect? And how can you still be a great mom while not being this like perfect idea of what you think, you should be? Do you know what I mean? Does that even make sense? I feel like I
It
really
does.
okay, good.
And so there's an exercise I do with my coaching moms when they come with that myth. I call it the myth of perfection, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, if you ask 10 people what does perfection or what does perfect mean to them, you have 10 different answers,
Mhm.
right? So what does perfect mean? What is perfect? You Nobody can give you the same definition. If I tell
It's
you
true.
what does happy means, you have kind of something similar with
Right.
happy, but perfect doesn't have a definition because it's different for everybody. So I was gonna say the myth of perfection is a myth of perfection. You're never gonna reach there.
Mhm.
There's always gonna be a new perfect and a
Right.
new goal and a new, you keep raising the bar higher and higher and higher. So I've seen mom that wanted to be perfect, and behind the scene it was revealing that that was the fear of losing control, embracing the chaos. We just want to control so much that we feel like if everything is under control, there's no surprise, there's
Mhm.
no something that I haven't planned that happened. And to be honest, before I had kids, I was that kind of person that liked to know what was coming, and that was like everything was controlled. And then I remember having, my first baby, and I sat there and I thought, oh my God, nothing is going like it's not planned. You don't know. Like, you read
That's
books and
life.
they say, let's sleep 2 hours a day. You like
Right.
mind of like what's going on. Like,
Right, right, right.
can I
Totally.
return? Can I return this child? Like, well, that it is motherhood allowed me to embrace the chaos,
Mhm.
basically saying, there's more joy in going and saying, I don't know what's going to happen, but I am so certain that I have within me what it takes to sort any crisis that's going to happen today gave me that peace.
Hmm.
So to the point I wanted to say is like there's so much joy in planning, but there's no such joy in plans because I feel
Mm.
like plans are rigid. But planning, saying today it's gonna be a win if I get that baby dressed and fed and
Yeah,
then
that's a good
have
day.
30-minute nap. This is planning. But plans can change. That baby
Right.
can sleep 10 seconds and you're like, oh God, there's no here goes the 30-minute nap.
Whoops.
But more importantly, and I have a story to share before I say what I wanted to say. So I had a conversation with my mom not so long ago, and she was telling me about a story. I was like, okay, she still feel guilty of missing some sort of ballet dance that I was doing when I was like 5 or 4. She wasn't there. She was coming back into the country. Her plane was delayed, so she had to spend the night. And it was the first time I was dancing. And she's like, I still feel guilty. I missed this. And I was like, huh?
What are you talking about?
Exactly. So when you see in the great grand scheme of things, do kids want a perfect mom? They just want a mom that love them, make them feel secure, that have their back, like create that love environment that nurture and grow them. I still know today that if there's any problem, I can talk to my mom of anything. She's not gonna be happy with everything, but she's gonna get my back, right?
Right.
So
Totally.
that's what I remember. When I think of my childhood, I remember laugh and conversation with, both my parents. I don't remember them saying, "Oh, you have to dress up and have no stain, and you have to be in bed at 3." Or, like, the perfection thing is it's serving us. It doesn't serve the rest of the world.
Right.
So you have your kid. The question I'm asking my perfect mom, 10 years, 20 years down the line, when you have that relationship with your kid, what would they remember?
Mm.
The mom that does beautiful lunchbox for Instagram, and no offense to our Instagram mom, I'm just rubbish and I'm terribly jealous you can do those things.
Me too.
Or the
I'm with you there.
or the mom that will be jumping in a muddy puddle with the kid because it was raining and it was more fun than just say, "Oh, don't stain your clothes," or whatever. Like, those are
Yeah.
the moments. Create memories with your kids and your
Oh,
family.
I mean, it seems silly because it seems so obvious, but we need to be reminded of that sometimes because that's the part that your kids will remember as they get older. That's also
Yes,
the part you'll remember
you remember, yeah.
because
And
it's just as important to you as it is to your kids.
it, so funny story and real story. So my house is have white wall and gray walls, and it's something that you can see. So
Hmm.
one day during the pandemic, I think 2 years ago now, just at the beginning of pandemic, when we were still learning to live with each other. So I remember that as a mom, if I don't hear any noise, I'm thinking there's something wrong, because it was kid at home. So I went upstairs and I thought it was raining that day. It was a rainy day, or it had rained not so long ago. And I came, and the first thing I saw in my living room is, imprint, an imprint with mud on
Oh
a white
no.
wall. And my kid was saying, "Oh, look, you didn't see? Oh, look at what we did." And they were super excited. And then for that split second, I wanted to fume and scream and cry and all those emotions at some point. And you know what I did? I went in, I put my hand in the mud, and I put my imprint on the wall. And
I
they were
love that.
so excited.
Oh my
And,
god.
and it's still there. We haven't painted it.
Oh, I
But every time we pass there, we still remember, oh, that was the day we did this. So I have like a
I'm gonna
wall that is
cry.
not.
Is that because simply because I can feel that memory being something that is with you forever
It
because
is.
it's just letting go of the rules and the rigidity and all the stuff that doesn't need to be and just having fun.
And this, for me, every time I pass in front of this wall, is a reminder of embracing the chaos more. Um, it's some days I forget. I'm not perfect. I'm just human. And some days I want rules. And I remember my 4-year-old asked me why she wanted to eat something at breakfast that was not breakfast time. And I was like, you can't eat that. This is breakfast time. She's like, why can't I? And I look at that world, I'm like, yes, why can't we? And so we flip the rule.
An excellent point you make, darling.
Yeah,
And
you can
and
have
you're right.
pizza at breakfast, I guess.
Why not? It's delicious,
Yeah,
right?
yes, sure.
I think that is so great and so delightful, really. Delightful because there's so many things like that in life that happen. The chaos, like do you expect mud handprints on your wall? No. Is your first instinct to be like, who put the handprints on the wall?
Oh, I had smoke coming out
Yeah,
of my
exactly.
back. It
You,
was smoky. I had a heart attack. I smelled burning fire.
you said, oh no, I'm about
I
to
was
lose it.
yeah, it's like I was like I saw two kids that were like, look at what we did, and I'm like this. The laugh were becoming distorted in my head. I was like, oh,
Mhm. Everybody
memory.
run. I know
With
those
that voice,
moments.
with that voice. Uh,
Totally.
but more seriously, the myth of perfection, it's a lie we tell ourselves that if we have it under control, there's no surprise, everything will be good. But you have it within yourself anyway to control everything, to have the surprise thing. But I would say, with so much control put in place, there's no room for surprise. There's no room for the hand on the wall on a muddy day. There's no room for um, growing, because you will realize that, you know what, if I can accept muddy paint on my white wall, what else can I do today that will push that barrier? And my kid hilariously always remember that paw on the print, like those mud imprint on the wall. They don't remember um, me saying sit correctly and
Right.
chew with your fork and whatever. They don't, but they remember, and they're like, oh, when it's raining again, can we do more, or can we do a new one?
Maybe
I've
not
created a monster.
again. Great.
Yes,
But that memory, that's the more important part.
that's what stays in our heart forever. I think
Or
they will remember, and me
oh, they
included.
will. They absolutely will, and you will. And that's just such a beautiful thing. It's making me so happy. I love
I
that.
was
I love
gonna say,
that.
for the mom that are listening and with shock horror, yes, I fully own that I'm not a perfect parent. So
I love it though.
I want you to also consider another point of view. What if we, instead of creating rules and making everything so clean and, no germs going in, what if we were creating memories instead?
Yeah.
And so what if it takes the shape of, muddy imprint in on the floor or on the wall, or eating pizza at 3 a.m. in the morning, which I do not recommend. But um, what if it does that?
Exactly. Hold on, I messed up my microphone. There we go. See, I'm not a perfect podcaster either.
Oh, let's embrace our imperfection. This is what it's
Yes,
all about.
it is what it's all about. Gladys, I want to ask you, why are you so passionate about working with moms? Because you obviously are, and you
Ah,
have all these amazing insights. And I want to know what makes you so passionate about this work.
because number one, representation will matter. I think the more voices I add to the conversation, the more highlight will be put on the fact that, a working mom, it's a category
Mm-hmm.
in itself. Before the pandemic, we had a work life, we had a home life, and we were expecting those two never to meet. I think there's a lot of things when it comes to a mom mental health, especially when you work, there need to be, open discussion and conversation. I'm not saying that we all, um, you know, you know, we all are crying or desperate, but for those that struggling, I want it to be a space where we can say, you know what, at work, for example, I need a little bit more support than a non-parent, because if my kid fall sick, I don't have a diary telling me, oh, on the 10th of February, there will be illness in your family.
Right.
So I need a little bit more flexibility, accommodation. A lot of mom left the workforce last year because they couldn't accommodate both and they had to choose. And I feel like there's a lot of mom that are forced to choose between their professional dream and their personal dreams, right? So number one, I wanted to add my voice to the conversation and help impacting and changing and making it better the motherhood journey of other working people. So it's all about highlighting it. And I say to you, it started with the lie I was telling myself. I must be alone feeling the way I am. And it's a complete lie. So I wanted to be part of that conversation, helping people understand those unique challenge. And I want to say that I came with that idea and I gained way much more. I met extraordinary people. I have been, educated on different problems, different aspiration, different motivation. And I've learned to be getting out of my comfort zone, growing a little bit more by putting myself out there, being more vulnerable, because sometimes I go and say things like, oh, today this is what happened. And people are like, oh God. And I feel like this is the worst thing I've wrote ever. It's on the internet. And then making sure that people know that whatever you're going through, you're not alone. And it's a big fat lie. You're telling yourself that you think you're alone.
Absolutely.
That's my main motivation. So the people and making sure, and it's almost cliche, but when you meet people, you see so much potential, so much power running around, and looking at someone, working with someone, and they finally realize that they are capable and equipped and powerful. This, no money can buy it.
Oh,
This is
you're
priceless.
so right. It is priceless. Well, I think that's awesome. And in that same vein, I am going to change course a little bit here in our conversation, ask you some of my super fun questions.
It was getting too heavy here.
Yeah,
so let's
right?
go with the fun. Yeah, please. I was like, whoa, is that a podcast or
Because that's
not?
what happens. We start talking about these things and we have so much fun, and then it gets deep. And that's when we get a little lighter. So we're going to take it, take some deep breaths. And now we're going to talk. The first one's a little deeper. Then the second
Okay.
question's a little more fun. So the first one is, who are 3 people who've had the most influence or been the most inspiration for you? So we'll start with that.
Oh God, this
I know. I ask people this question and they're like, or they're like, I could tell you right off the bat. It seems like that's like the
sure.
2 ways.
I'm not that kind of person. So I was gonna say there's so many people that inspire or impact me, like almost, I wouldn't say on a daily basis, but at least on a yearly basis. You always happen to meet someone that changed the way you think. But if I have to say something, the 2 biggest influence, well, 3 biggest influence would be my dad and my kids. I think there was definite before and after having my kid. I hope I'm a better human being. At least I'm working hard to be a better human being after, my kid. And my dad kind of, he was thinking differently, and he was not afraid to own the fact that he was creative and out of the box and all those things. And I think that was my first insight in looking at someone that say, I'm owning who I am. I don't need to be in a box. So I would say the eccentric part of me is definitely my parents. So, but wanting to always relentlessly learn and be curious, it's definitely my kid.
Yeah, and I love that. And that's true. I mean, that kids bring that side out of us. I think that curiosity, that fun part of us that we sometimes lock away.
Forget, yeah,
right? Or forget, exactly.
And I hope my husband doesn't listen to that podcast, but yeah, you part of it, honey. But I had only 3 people.
Sorry, babe. It's what we had to do. I love it because that's what happens. But honey, you don't take a back seat. It's just the way it is.
Yeah,
That's what we do. It's all
that's
good.
true.
We'll just
What
tell
she
him.
said. What she
Yeah,
says.
listen to me. I know what I'm saying. All right. Next question takes us in a different direction, and it's I love ask. I just enjoy this question. So, if you could have a dream dinner party, right? This could be a dinner party, it can be a luncheon, it can be an activity that you really enjoy. It doesn't have to revolve around food. I'm a foodie. I love food, so for me everything
Oh, me
revolves around
too.
food. So
Me too.
um so three people, and I'm going to specify they don't have to be people. They don't have to be real. They can be fictional. They can be dead or alive. They can be people you know or related to, but they don't have to be. I mean, I open this up a lot. I've had people have characters from books. I've had people invite the spirits of, deceased ancestors. I've had people invite their best friend. It's whatever you want. So I let you get real creative here, and it's really
I
fun,
was
I
gonna
think
say,
about it.
okay, so I would think three people and one non-people. Can I get away
I
with
like
that?
absolutely can. It's your dinner party. You do whatever you want.
Oh, okay, perfect. So
Yeah.
the first person I will invite, and I don't name a name, but it has to be someone that knows how to cook because that dinner party would be needed. So I will want to invite a creative chef of some sort, maybe a French chef because they reinvent the cuisine. I like someone that
Mhm.
does fusion cuisine, so they mix different influence. So it has to be a chef. So the
Love
food
it.
gotta be like completely on point.
Oh
So
yeah.
that's my first
That's a
person.
nice
Um,
I like that.
my second person will be my dad because the chef is more important. I like to eat. I love my dad, but yeah, because he always have very philosophical thought and insightful. He's the kind of guy that asks you. You ask him, "How does it work?" And he's like, "Why do you think?" And you'll be like, "Oh, maybe it could be this." It's like interesting, and you're like, "Thank you, Dad. You were so insightful."
I
Um,
love that.
so
It's awesome.
So I will get my dad because I will be really deep very quickly. I will invite you, Kara. You're my third
Oh,
person. So
me.
for sure, because we're gonna have so much giggle, laughing, and eating.
Yes.
And the fourth person, that's not a person, I will invite I don't know, Siri or Google, one of those guys that answer all the questions we could
I
ever think
love
of.
it. Oh my gosh. I am so excited for this dinner party, and I can't wait. Oh
I know. I was gonna say,
my god.
do you notice I keep it child free and you know, yeah,
It's the way to
that's
do it. Us moms need a break.
it.
That is so cool though. Oh my god, I would love to come to that dream dinner
And
party.
the hubby will be the babysitter, but he hopefully never listened to this episode
That's right. You
because,
just, honey,
yeah.
you don't need to hear this one. Just tell him, say, honey, we had so much fun. It was great. I don't need you to listen.
And for those of you that listen to this show with your husband a rock. He's amazing. Mine too. But yeah, we just, you're a mom and you like me, you just know that when you want to have some relaxing and fun time, sometimes the mom hat stays aside and
Yes,
you become you again. In my case, Gladys. So
I like it. Gladys, I was going to just give you one last question, but I have to throw one question in here because I'm so curious. You mentioned earlier that you've lived in 5 different
yes,
countries. And I need to ask you, what countries have you lived in? Because living in more than one country is incredible, but 5, that's
I
amazing. I have
know.
to ask.
I was gonna say I live in 3 on my own volition and 2 were not. My own
Interesting.
choice because I was a child with my parents.
Gotcha.
So so 5 different country, how many 3 continents. So I lived in France where I'm originally from, France and Cameroon, in Central Africa. Then I
Mhm.
went to Morocco. Then I went to England. Then I came to Canada. So
Wow. That's
and the,
amazing.
and I'm currently trying to convince my husband to move to another country, but to be continued.
We will see. Well, that's really
We
cool.
will see.
Of those countries that you've lived in, I've been to 3 of them. I've been to France. I was in France once. Again, I was 10. So we're looking at 30 plus years ago. And I loved it. And the memories I have of France are just like wonderful. And England on the same trip. Spent a week in France,
Yes.
a week in England. It was amazing. And then Canada, like we were
two
talking about
two
before.
2 hours away from your side. Like I was living in England and my family lived in France, and every Friday, well, not every, but most Fridays, I was on the Eurostar. 2 hours later, I was sitting at home eating dinner.
So
Different country.
incredible. It's so
Cool.
cool. I love that. I
Yeah.
think that's really, really great. Well, thank you for
Oh,
answering that. I've been so curious to ask.
oh,
Um,
I'll charge next time. That was
all
the
right.
first time
Next
I spoke.
time I'll be prepared. Okay. So my
Can
actual
I ask
last,
you a question? Can I
sure,
ask you a
please. I
question?
love
So
questions.
I was gonna say the superpower question. What superpower would you want to have if you could choose?
I think I would want to fly, honestly,
Why?
because I have always dreamt. So I've had very, very, very vivid dreams. Always
Huh.
have my entire life since I was very, very little. My first memory of a dream was when I was about 3. And throughout my life, there have just been these vivid dreams. And there are a few themes that always recur throughout my life. And one of them is flying. Now, I haven't had a flying dream in a while, but
You
for
may have one
me,
tonight.
I hope so. I love those dreams. And they're always different. Sometimes I'm flying way up above, and other times I'm just sort of floating a few feet off the ground. But there's a few reasons why. Number one is when I dream about flying, it feels very, very real and it feels very, very liberating. Secondly, I'm terrified of heights. Like it's this absolute, utter phobia that I cannot control. Let me give you some examples just so you understand. France, went to the Eiffel Tower. My parents were so excited. My brother and sister were excited. We're all having a great time. About halfway up, I guess on like an observation deck, I started panicking. It was the first time I ever really experienced this. My hands were shaking, my palms were sweating, and I couldn't breathe. And I was like, I don't think I can go up anymore. That happened to me in the Empire State Building in New York City when I was like 13. It happened to me at every baseball game and football game I've ever been to in Philadelphia, because I live right outside of Philadelphia. And I'm just absolutely so terrified of heights. And I feel like, why am I so afraid of heights? And every single time the same thing happens. My heart starts racing, my palms start sweating, my hands start shaking, and I start crying. It's not like I'm crying. I don't know why I'm crying. I physically can't stop it. It's the craziest thing. But when I dream about flying, I'm not afraid. And like, I don't even like to fly in an airplane because of the height issue. Like, I'm so high up. But somehow flying just feels like it would feel so liberating and so easy to just get anywhere. I don't know. I think that would be my superpower if I could just choose a magical power. Or, I don't know.
Way to conquer your fear. And on a selfish note, could you dream of lottery numbers? You just have to send them to me.
I will, for sure.
I'll take care of the rest.
I can't tell you how many nights in my life, if there's a big like lottery drawing going on or something, I think to myself, okay, dream of numbers tonight. You know you'll remember them tomorrow. And what happens? I dream of something completely different. And I wake up in the morning and I'm like, well, that was a weird dream. Had
Oh
nothing to
my
do with
God.
any numbers. What was that about? But
Anyway, if in your listeners someone can dream of lottery numbers, can you send them to me?
yes, please send them to
Please.
Gladys. I'll get her
Please.
contact information for you in the show notes.
Yes, please.
Which actually brings me to my last question. And that is, where can our listeners find you? Where can they connect with you? Where are you to be found?
Oh, I am everywhere and nowhere. No, I'm joking. So I am mostly on LinkedIn, where I talk about my adventure as a working mom, and I talk about my mini diva and my little guy. So LinkedIn, Gladys Simen, just one word. And then LinkedIn is mainly where you find me most of the time. I have my website. It's called www.mylifecouch, not Coach Couch, couch.com. Everybody asks me why couch. I say because in every household there's a couch. That's it, everywhere. And that couch is always the moment, the witness of moment that involve emotion. So if you want to jump on the couch because you're happy, like Tom Cruise, yeah, or if you cry on a couch, or if you want just good old comfort, you just take your blanket and be on your couch. So my coaching practice is the perfect couch, the perfect size, the perfect color, the perfect fabric, and you have me sitting next to you to be the witness of those moments involving emotion. So my life couch have a ton of resources. Some of the thought that I have and I put on my blog, and I also love my favorite tool that I put there. It's the success journal. And a success journal, I believe in journaling. You heard me say that at the beginning, know yourself intimately well. And for me, journaling is a way to find patterns, your own pattern. And when you journal for a certain period of time, a decent period of time, you start knowing what triggers you, what fuels you, what drains you. So I have a success journal that I create specifically for working mother because being the perfect, no, I'm kidding, not so perfect. I wanted something that was specific to me, so I just share it because I had great feedback about people using it. So it's on my website, mylifecouch.com, and I'm also on Instagram at mylifecouch. And I have a confession to say. One of my clients, which I was trying to nudge them out of the comfort zone, say, "What have you done recently that was out of your comfort zone?" And I'm not social media savvy. And I thought, oh, I'm gonna go and open an Instagram account, which I did. I have no idea what I'm doing.
You're not alone. Let me tell you
So
that.
if you happen to be Instagram savvy, go to at my life couch and give me some feedback. Tell me how I'm doing, and if you love it or not, or at least give me some, "Hey Gladys, this is terrible" kind of thing.
Why are you
So
doing this? Never.
those are the three places you can find me: my website, LinkedIn, and Instagram.
Amazing. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Gladys, I just want to take a minute and thank you. I know we had so much fun talking the last time we talked, and I think we had even more fun this time. Or I don't know. I mean, this was just great, and
The jury's out.
We'll have to see. I don't know.
We need to have that. We have to have that dinner. I have to find a chef, and then I'll call you, and then we'll
Call me
figure out.
up. I will be
And
there.
we'll
I love
and then
the
if
food.
someone find a lottery number, you're invited.
Yes,
because we have that much money. You may as well.
It'll be a great dinner party. Seriously, it'll be incredible. Gladys, you rock. I'm so glad that we did this. Thank you so much.